For every person I meet who's stoked on their Polygon, there's someone else waiting to talk smack. Seems like a pretty controversial brand. And that got me wondering, what's the deal with Polygon? What's their history? What are they doing today? And maybe most importantly, why are they so dang affordable? I decided to do some digging and see what I could find. And to be honest, what I learned along the way was pretty dang surprising. So let's go ahead and start things off with a bit of a history lesson. The year is 1989. Madonna's Like a Prayer is at the top of the charts, the Berlin Wall has fallen, and a small Indonesian bicycle manufacturer that will later be known as Polygon opens its first factory. At that point in time, Polygon's primary focus was making affordable but durable bikes that could handle the rugged Indonesian terrain. It actually took them a full 20 years to enter the international market, but once they did, they were off to the races. In 2007, Polygon started selling to Australia, then to Europe in 2011, and finally to the US in 2014. Today, you can buy a Polygon in over 50 countries, but as with any rapid growth, there have been some growing pains along the way. Since day one, Polygon has been dedicated to making affordable, accessible bikes. But when they first entered the international market, some of their early models didn't quite fit the standard that had already been set up by more established brands. For instance, at the time, you could get a bike that might cost $1,000 less than one of its competitors, but it might have slightly outdated geometry or the previous year's components. Understandably, this led to some frustration, but Polygon was quick to right the ship and adjust their strategies for this new market, and their latest models are right in line with their more expensive counterparts. In fact, Polygon didn't just catch up. In many ways, they've exceeded their peers and have been recognized by a lot of major media companies, winning awards like Pink Bike's Innovation of the Year for their Square One in 2017, and Japan's Good Design Award in 2022 and 2023 for the Gili Velo. In addition to making a slew of successful bikes, Polygon has also had more than a handful of extremely talented riders on their team. Mick and Tracy Hanna have more than a dozen elite downhill races between them while riding for the Polygon UR team. Arguably even more impressive than that is Kurt Sorge's not one, but two Red Bull Rampage victories on his Polygon DH9. Today, riders like Dan Wolf, Luke Whitlock, and many more continue to push the boundaries of their respective disciplines aboard Polygon bikes. On the road side of things, Polygon is the title sponsor of the #1 Asian cycling team, Terengganu Polygon Cycling. But these partnerships go far beyond just marketing. Polygon knows that they can get invaluable feedback from their professional athletes when designing new bikes and bringing them to the market. Speaking of new bikes, Polygon has been on quite a roll so far this year in 2025, already releasing 3 bikes, and it's just May. The first of these is the Polygon Colossus TLE, a lightweight carbon fiber EMTB. Next is the Colossus N Series Enduro bike, and finally the Colossus DH, an elite level downhill bike that already has several World Cup races and a Red Bull Rampage under its belt. But even with all these highly acclaimed bikes, Polygon still hasn't forgotten about its roots. They still make several super affordable, but also super fun to ride bikes, like the Polygon Path and Premier. So clearly Polygon has done, and more importantly, is still doing some really cool things. But that just sparks my curiosity even more as to why they're so much more affordable than most other brands on the market. And again, after doing some research, seems like it comes down to one major thing. And that's something called vertical integration. Unlike brands that outsource their manufacturing and rely on a web of factories and complicated logistics, Polygon controls every part of the process. They own their own factories, handle assembly, and maintain close relationships with a small number of distributors, like BikesOnline, to handle sales. In addition to reducing production expenses, this also gives Polygon much tighter control over their products. They can manage production timelines, ensure quality standards are met at every stage, and respond quickly to market demands. Instead of waiting for external suppliers to catch up or adjust, they can pivot immediately, whether that's incorporating rider feedback into new models or adjusting spec levels to stay competitive. In the end, this makes for bikes that are offered at an exceptional value without cutting corners on any performance. In addition to all of that, Polygon also manufactures bikes for other bike brands, and the profit that comes in from this helps to further offset their own manufacturing costs, lowering prices even more for the consumer. But if you live in the US or Australia, that's just the start of the savings, because BikesOnline, the exclusive Polygon distributor here, like Polygon, does everything we can to save you money. That's why you'll usually see our bikes listed even lower than Polygon's already impressive prices. One of the biggest ways we're able to do this is by ditching brick and mortar stores. This means no property expenses, less staffing, and more flexibility for our inventory. And if you add all that up, it starts to make sense why bikes like the Polygon Siskiyou T8 typically come out on top when compared to their competitors that cost $1,000 or $2,000 more. So, is Polygon really that controversial? Well, sure. If you consider building bikes that punch above their weight and cost less than the competition is controversial, then I guess they are. From their humble beginnings in Indonesia to becoming a global brand trusted by elite athletes and weekend warriors alike, Polygon has earned itself a place in the conversation. If after hearing all this, you're ready to see what all the fuss is about for yourself, then I suggest heading over to BikesOnline.com. We've got dozens of Polygons, again, at super affordable prices. Some of my favorites are the Polygon Siskiyou T6, which in my humble opinion is the best budget full suspension bike on the market, or the all-new Colossus TLE, a high-performance carbon fiber EMTB that's literally thousands of dollars less than the competition. If you have any more questions about Polygon or any of the bikes that they manufacture and we sell here at Bikes Online, then you can leave those in the comments and I'll be sure to get you an answer. While you're there, I'd appreciate it if you go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the Bikes Online channel if you haven't done so already. And after you've done that, grab your bike, whatever it is, get out there and get ripping.